Well, hello. So this is one of a package from a viewer kind of thingies. Edwin sent me a message on well, it's not it is a DIY audio site, but it's called selfbouwaudio.nl. It's a Dutch DIY audio site, and he said he had two drivers that were blown up, and if I was interested to take a look at them or maybe do something with them. I believe either replacing the foil or something, although he said if you're, if it's not to your liking, you can throw them away. But I like the fact he took the effort to send me them, because I am curious how they were made and which one they are. And well, maybe get some ideas. It's always nice to disassemble some drivers. So let's take a look. I already cut it open and took a really quick look, but I forgot which driver it was, and especially I've never seen the driver on the bottom, so I don't know. So there was paper here, so it was well packed, but when I seen this, I was like, I recognize this driver, or at least I've seen it before. And I was thinking Philips MFB loudspeakers, the huge ones. So, and since we were talking Visaton, I was thinking, that's weird, because I think this is a Philips, which it is. It's no surprise right now, but it's the RHT made in Belgium. And I think this is the one that is normally in MFB loudspeakers, the huge ones. So we're gonna take a look what's inside of this, and we're gonna take a look what's else in this package besides paper. Yeah, this seems to be a different driver. So this might be the Visaton. It is. It doesn't say a brand actually, but he said this one died at a great party at the previous owner. It doesn't say which brand this is, but I guess it's Visaton. It's 8 ohms. High power ribbon tweeter. Okay. The RHT 12S. This looks familiar. Difference in weight. This one is quite wide compared to this one. This is a little bit longer, but I'm not sure what kind of magnets in here. This is plastic, by the way, the front baffle. And this is metal, I believe. A combination, actually. It's metal and plastic. So let's see what's in there and see how it's made. I probably will post some pictures of the speakers they're used in. At least this one is from a existing loudspeaker. This one, I think it's DIY. I mean, it is not DIY, but used for DIY speakers. I assume this will come off. So let's start off with the Visaton, which I'm not sure if it's Visaton. I think it is, but oh, there's another tie wrap here. They're both blown, so they're of no use to me. So it's a plastic front with, well, I don't know if you can call it a, yeah, it's not much of a, what is it, waveguide or something. It's just making as less trouble as it can. Although it's kind of weird that it has this ridge here. I would not use a ridge there. I don't know why you would, but... And there is a sort of... It's not felt, it's like a grit. I think I have the same material somewhere. Doesn't do much for damping, so it's not... It's just purely that you not throw in stuff, I think. Okay, so That's the driver. I can see already some Kapton foil and some really tiny traces. Those are insanely tiny. Let's remove the screws and see what actually is inside. What kind of magnet is in there? I mean, these are the drivers I've seen gazillion times in like hi-fi booklets from the 80s and 70s. When I was a child, I had a huge stack of Elector, or the German electronics, DIY electronics magazine, or maybe also Dutch, I don't know. But I had like a huge pile of them, and they were all old. You know, they were like from the years when I was born. But I really loved, you know, looking in them and see all kinds of drivers and cool stuff I wish I had or wanted to buy, or, you know, and I think I've seen these at least several times, and I think I've seen these as well. So it's fun to have a look at them right now. So many years later, who knows? So there is a wiggly wobbly, so I assume the magnets might be in the back. Yeah, so, oh. Huh. So by the looks of it, here's magnets as well, I think. Yes. It's so funny. They are not incredibly strong, but I assume that these are alnico or something, because they're definitely not ferrite. They're not ferrite, and neodymium was not a thing back then. Also, this is a neodymium of the same size. I don't know. No, they're not neodymium. I think they're alnico, or if they were neodymium, which I cannot imagine, because I think this predates the neodymium. Yeah, it's nicely machined, by the way. Very nice. It's like 1mm steel, I believe. .3. So it's actually not using metric steel, which is weird. Well, that's the front. So this push-pull, I didn't know it was push-pull, but now let's take a look at the membrane. That's some sick, tiny traces. As you can see, they're quite burned, so they were blown up for sure. It is Kapton by the looks of it, but these traces are so insanely thin. Let's look at the pattern, because so here are the connection points. No. So the first half of the coil is made like this. They're going, this is the connection point. Then we go up, down, up. Then we route it back to the left side and do the same thing over and over until you have half the amount of traces, and then they go like this and feed back. That's really nice, and their traces are so insanely small. Not sure if I can measure this. It would be nice. I'm afraid I'll destroy the membrane, but... So this, for instance, is not possible without etching, and quite good etching, or quite good, like insane good etching. This is so tiny. How the fuck do you measure this? Something like this. 0.4. Yeah, so maybe even smaller, like 0.3, 0.4 millimeter. That's that's the trace itself. So the space in between the traces is like, I don't know, for me unmeasurable at least. Sick. Of course they're burned to crap, but so now I wonder how they made the connections. That's the other thing that's quite interesting. Let me get something to poke at it. This might be gluten. Let's check if there's something behind this. There is something, but it's not. That's weird. There's some sort of indentation here, but it's not like all the way through. It's still steel. So I don't know why that is. So I guess they glued it in, which is, well, I wouldn't say annoying, but that means I have to pry it open. Maybe, by the looks of it, this is a piece of PCB. This part, yes. But the cable is too short. Oh. What? Ah, okay. So we got some tiny wires that go to these points here, which are the connection points. Okay, I'll show you. There. There. A really tiny wire. What is also noticeable is there's foam here. Very nice. And what is also noticeable is that this uses normal ferrite magnets. And if you look at, hardly visible, but they're really deep, so they're not that big. Wow, that's weak. It's so weak. It's amazing that it worked. But what they did here is interesting as well. So it's a piece of PCB, and it is like, I believe, it's even two pieces of PCB. That's interesting. So the total thickness is 1.25, but I guess it is 0.5 millimeter. They left a hole here, here, through the PCB completely. They glued the membrane on the backside or front side, I presume the backside PCB, which is actually the same cutout. Then it hired the second PCB on top of it, and since it has a hole, then the connection point is the only thing remaining. By the looks of it, the actual aluminium is on this side. That's why they had a solder bead here. There's also felt on here, directly on the membrane, by the use of Kapton tape, which is funny. I've never seen something like this. So this, I don't know the frequency response, but I assume it is only like really high up in frequency. You cannot get away with adding this kind of felt, or it's really like almost gone, to the membrane itself without having troubles down low. So, well, the size itself also dictates it's gonna be for high frequency. But so here are the actual aluminium traces, which are insanely thin and also fucked up, coming loose because of the heat. So it's a quite interesting design, quite a lot of work. I don't know if it's really needed to have 2 parts PCB. I don't think so. But probably installing it might be much easier. Replacing them is also easier. Although what they did, this was soldered in when it was sitting like this. So you could not replace it if you wanted, because you have to remove this piece of metal, which seems to be glued in. So my only option was like, get this thing off, and it breaks the wires that are going to the foil. So I don't see a reason to use 2-part PCB unless you want it to be able to be repaired, which in this case is not the case. The rest of the motor is not repairable. Now I would like to have one of those magnets be removed. Let's see if we can. This might break and end up in my face, so... Oh, wait. Hey! It wasn't that hard. So they were repairable. Because now you could attach this and solder the wires over there. Although it'd be a little bit hard, but that's a beefy piece of plastic. That's some really deep magnets. Now, I want one off. I'm gonna close my eyes because it might end up in my eye. So ferrite magnets. There's a ridge here, and it's the same, it's bumped. So what they did here on this side, where I said like, oh, that's weird, it is actually used to make the construction easier. So they used a press to press in these ridges, and they end up here like being standing off proud. So you know where you can put the magnet in between these, or punched, or what is it? This one is also loose, so I can show you. You see, a magnet will fit in here exactly. Add some glue and you're done. It's exactly the same width. So that is quite nice. Not sure what glue they used, but it surely works. It's so funny, I mean, these magnets are, you know, it works, but it's not, since neodymium came along, it's not insane. It's not bad either. So yeah, that's the motor. Let's take another look to the front panel, because I wonder if they in fact used any magnets here, or are they maybe just steel? I think they are magnets. It's quite clear they wanted to use big cheap magnets on the back. So big cheap magnets on the back, ferrite ones, and to compensate they made it really like deep. Then they used all this felt to, you know, make sure there's no reflection from this back plate into the foil again. Although it probably will happen a little bit, but that's the idea. And then on the front plate You don't want to have deep magnets or it will screw up the whole sound and the measurement. The high frequency will look terrible if you have. So what they did is actually use a thinner magnet to create a more open area, but still be able to have a little bit kind of a push-pull configuration. So it is magnetic, as you can see. We can check the polarity if I have any, well, just this magnet then. So it attracts to here, and it doesn't want to be on here. So these are magnets, but probably Alnico or some other more expensive magnet. But they use a very thin one, since it helps the sound, and as well probably in costs. So they were able to use cheap as big ferrites on the back side and use more expensive ones on the front side. Not sure if they are actually the same strength. I don't think so. This one seems to be stronger. Not by much, but I think everything helps. So that's quite interesting. If you make this now, this will be replaced by, like, for instance, neodymium, and the backside as well. And you don't need these deep magnets. They can be the same size. Yeah. Incredibly funny. So I believe that's the Visaton tweeter. I'm not going to repair it because it's not worth my effort, especially since I only have one. And secondly, yeah, this weird construction is purely based on money and the best response for their time. They could have done everything with Alnico, but I think that would be too expensive, so they came up with this design using thicker magnets in the back. And since they really had to have smaller magnets in the front to have a better looking frequency response, they use expensive magnets. See you around. Bye bye.